moving through triggers. All of us can easily get triggered by situations or things that other people do or say, or what they don't do, if they don't do what we would prefer them to do. And these triggers can bring up strong feelings that feel really overwhelming. And when we're in the middle of a triggered feeling, it can seem like there's nothing else going on in our life. Nothing else is real. It can just feel like being enveloped by a super strong emotion. And for some of us, in the past, it worked by suppressing, distracting ourselves, or numbing those emotions. But a certain point comes in life where that no longer works, where no matter how hard you try to suppress or distract yourself, you're still feeling it. You're still in the middle of it. You're still facing it. And that can be a little bit annoying and very painful. But the good thing is, it's now strong enough and coming to the surface enough for us to face it. We don't have a choice but to face it, or to just try and distract ourselves and try and numb ourselves, which just doesn't work. So when we get to this point, sometimes we don't know what to do with it. It's so heavy, it's so painful, but where to put it, how to deal with it when we get there. The way is through. It's through facing it, not through running away and fleeing, not through fighting it and seeing it as the total enemy, but to actually experience it in its fullness. You're not really experiencing danger. You're actually totally safe to feel a feeling, even though the body isn't feeling safe. But with reason, we know it's not going to hurt us. A feeling's not going to hurt us. And not only that, when we choose to take 5-10 minutes, isolate ourselves, and feel the feeling fully, we can actually discharge it. What that looks like is finding a quiet place and naming, first of all, what it is. I feel shame. I can't believe I got stuck in that addiction again. I can't believe I got stuck in that debt cycle again. I can't believe I didn't stand up for myself yet again in a situation that I should have. I feel shame that I'm repeating things I've repeated my whole life that only bring me harm and don't honor myself. This is an example. And so when we say to ourselves, I feel XXX, and say it again, I feel XXX in this moment, and we breathe, and it's still there, and we breathe some more, and then we notice it feels like a heavy pit in the bottom of my stomach. It feels like I don't want to see anyone, I don't want to face anyone, lest they know what's going on with me. I feel embarrassed and a bit of a failure in this moment. I feel like, even though I've got a lot of other stuff going on in my life, that right now I'm just all this shame, that I'm just drowning in it, that it's so heavy. And then we breathe. And we breathe some more. And when we do this very simple practice, after a little while of sitting with yourself, you'll notice that it actually discharges. That pit in your stomach lessens and just goes away. That the intensity of the feeling of shame passes through. And this is because it's done what it came to do. It came to get your attention. It didn't come to harm you. It didn't come to put you in danger. And it didn't come to beat you up and tell you that you're super terrible. The mind might jump on and say those things, but the feeling itself, the reality of that feeling, is here to be like, hey, you know, you found yourself in this spot again, and let's make it so uncomfortable for you to be repeating this behavior or in this pattern once again. Let's make it so uncomfortable that you might actually avoid doing this thing in the future, once and for all. It might take a few times, but this pain actually is like a motivator and a catalyst for helping us finally switch out of these behaviors or ways of showing up in the world that aren't serving us or aren't serving other people. Sitting through and feeling through a triggered feeling like that, it doesn't make it go away suddenly and out of the blue. It's not like it's never going to show up again. But the good thing is, the more we can get used to feeling our feelings and having this practice for when these really sticky emotions come up, the faster and faster we can discharge them, the faster and faster we can understand that they're just energies, they're just feelings that are moving through, but they aren't us. We're the observer, we're the experiencer, and that they're trying to bring us to a better place in our life, a place that it's not so much falling into addictive patterns. It's not repeating the same dishonoring to ourself behaviors. These feelings are showing up loud and clear so that we're no longer going to want to return to those things, those behaviors as often. When something from the past resurfaces, it's okay to revisit it. Even if it's an old behavior from the past that you're not proud of and you're doing it yet again, it's okay to revisit it. The reason that we started doing some of these behavioral patterns in the first place was because we felt unresourced and unsupported and confused or frightened. And so they were kind of like a go-to way of acting, way of taking care of ourselves that wasn't the best, but it's the best that we had at the time. And so these painful triggers that are showing up now for people are indications that there's a better way. They're indications that we don't any longer have to do those patterns. And as we work on ourselves and try and do these practices more and more, one indication that we actually are changing and we are transforming is that we can hold more than one reality at the same time. Meaning, we can hold the feeling of shame that's passing through or any other difficult emotion. And at the same time, we can hold the knowing that actually we are an expert in many things. We've overcome many things. We've helped other people with many things. We have gifts that we're constantly bringing into the world and sharing. We have goals and visions for the future. So this tough, triggered emotion that is so heavy and dense is a temporary thing that's moving through, and it's not our value. It's not our identity. It's not the whole of us. And from there, we take a step back and even realize that our gifts and our vision and our goals and our goodness, they aren't even us either. So no matter whether it's good feelings and experience or difficult feelings or experience, they're all just experiences meant for our greatest growth, meant for our soul's development and learning. And who we really are is the observer and the experiencer, who's here watching, feeling, and letting all these things pass through and becoming as a result of it. But Earth is an intense place to learn lessons. Earth is an intense place to gain experience. So sometimes we get lost in the swamp. The emotional trigger is a strong thing that shouldn't be judged. It deserves inquiry. It deserves curiosity. It's just trying to get our attention. The situation or situations that caused us these pains, they might need a little bit more patience or understanding than you're used to giving them. They might need a little bit more tenderness. They might not go away overnight. They don't go away and get fully discharged until they've taught us everything and given us the insight we need to know. And so it can be frustrating to have them come back over and over and over. But it doesn't mean that we're failing. It means we're peeling off layers and layers and layers of a few very strong energies. We each have in our life a few different themes that we're working with, and we'll probably work with and become masterful of over the course of our life. Some people are working on their self-esteem in this life, their self-worth. Some people are learning patience as a main theme, something that comes around and around and around. Some people are learning to not blame and be resentful of other people. And that's going to come up over and over for them throughout their life. So if you're able to face and sit with these triggers, these pains when they come, feel them and discharge them, take what you can as learning from that situation, and be prepared to do it again and again and again. And as weary as that can feel sometimes, especially when these things show up to back, know that each time you commit to taking that 5 or 10 minutes to do this practice, you are actually peeling layers and layers and layers. And some of these themes, you wake up one day and you realize they're just really not showing up anymore. Those topics, some of these topics are not having the charge that they used to. And that means that you've gone through a lot of layers, maybe most of the layers. Sometimes when these pains and these triggers are extremely overwhelming and very hard to hold in the body, we do need to reach out for help. We need to reach out to someone who understands us, to talk them through and to help us discharge them. Sometimes we don't feel even capable of sitting with ourselves and sitting through the discharging of an emotion. And that's okay too. That's okay. Just the act and the willingness of taking responsibility is enough. If someone has done something that has caused harm towards you in the past, and you're choosing to shift out of a constant blaming and taking responsibility for what you're now going to do with this painful energy that you have, just taking responsibility and agreeing to do that is plenty sometimes. Most of us have blocked and suppressed and turned away from painful emotions in the past. We haven't felt them fully. This is because at the time, there may not have been the support or the time and space to really sit with and feel these things. Or it could be that we've thought, to actually really fully feel the feelings associated with this negative event, it's going to be too intense. If I lean in to that feeling, I might not survive. It feels too dangerous. But now, as we work on our growth, we are in a place where those things are not going to harm us anymore. They are memories. So you are safe to feel your feelings. Your feelings are not going to hurt you at this stage of the game. So remember, on a practical level, it literally looks like taking some time away in a room, devoting 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes to feeling fully whatever comes up, breathing through it, leaning into it, naming what it is, identifying to yourself the feelings that you're having in your body, breathing some more, and letting it move through. Knowing that it's not you, it is a feeling, it's a temporary experience. It's not your value. It's meant for your highest good, to show you what's not working for you anymore. It's darkness passing, it's hard, but you're fully capable of feeling it, and you're fully capable of surviving that feeling moving through. The only thing that it can really harm is the ego, which is all right. You're always adequate. You're the experiencer. You're the divine spark. No situation or feeling or mistake or belief could ever contend with the truth of you being a divine spark. So this is a form of spiritual alchemy, of transmutation. It's a form of shadow work. If you've been wondering about how to start shadow work, the easiest place to start is your triggers. Because the triggers are shining a light on and waking up energies and forces and feelings that we've shoved in our subconscious. So in order to do shadow work, you don't need to really look very far. So if you've gotten this far in the video, and you've gotten this far in your personal healing that you're starting to really identify your triggers, you've got skin in the game. So keep going. And remember that the flame of consciousness, the flame of the divine, isn't carried by the able, it's carried by the willing.